Just did have Mark there for a moment entering the waiting room. I don't know if he is having trouble connecting.
Well, at some point, maybe we ought to consider going back to in person. Just get a big room that we all can sit far enough apart.
Like Mark's in on the Zoom, but Mark, can you hear us? I think we lost him again.
While we're waiting for Mark to come back in, Dan, you had sent an email saying that the GIS application is now up. Where would we find that on the website? Do you know? Is it under the town clerk or is it under Find It Fast?
The assessor has a link on their page, but I have it in as a sidebar link on all the land use pages.
So if I go to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency, I should find, is there a link there? I don't, ah, yes, it is. Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's really helpful. This is new. This just came on board, right?
Yep, I just put it all up on the last shift I had on Thursday.
Neat.
And they had just the assessor had just had it go live with the new year.
Well, I'm gonna see if I can test it out tonight. There's some of these applications that I don't know where they are. Interesting.
There is a little bit of a learning curve with it.
Mhm.
All the tools are in different places than, the last, what we, AppGeo, or it is
Yep.
a little bit similar to what we were using with NICOG, but has everything still kind of mixed around.
Well, it let me in, but I don't see anything. I click the search button and then nothing happens. I'll go back and see if I can get started again. All right, let's see what we get. Yeah, it's not working.
Yeah, the map isn't rendering for me either right now.
Yeah. I wonder if I go to the assessor's office.
It might just be the link if, because I was on it earlier from the link that you sent in the email, Dan.
Okay.
Went right to it. But maybe just the hyperlink here on the wetlands page might need to be tweaked.
Okay, so let me see if I can pick it up off of that.
Off the email.
Yeah, that's where I'm going now.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually working on a laptop and a PC, so I'm researching on one while I'm Zoom on the other.
It looks more robust than the NICOG one. So far, I haven't spent that much time on
I
it.
should hope so. I should hope it would be more robust. Because there was a lot of data layers that could be made available that I don't think were as readily available on NICOG.
But
But
it might-
it did look a lot like,
Do you think it's as good as MapGeo?
I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah.
I gotta see. Let's see.
MapGeo is very useful, but to keep it all the information in it up to date, and it's got great potential, but it always, the information is always lagging a bit behind unless you pay to have it
Oh,
more frequently updated.
Yes, so Thompson is in the process of getting, it has a lot of errors on it because they used Google Maps for their base map for all the roads, and there are errors in Google Maps, and
Oh.
Google Maps was not fixing it. So the company that does MapGeo is actually creating their own street layer, because in Thompson, they're having discussions about making distinctions between town roads, town maintained roads, town roads that aren't maintained, and private roads. And different conditions could occur from a zoning and a subdivision perspective, depending on what kind of road you're on. So they're actually creating a new layer just for roads. Oh, it came up. You're right. All right, let me see if I can do one of them. Oh.
The link that was on the assessor's page didn't work either, so that was a good exercise to
Try it
find out.
yeah.
Yep.
So Dan, this page is actually better than MapGeo unless you get the paid version of MapGeo. This will work better.
I think AppGeo, like in Thompson, there's a base rate, but then there's additional modules, just additional services that they can provide in terms of uploading new map layers.
Oh,
and updating the data with the assessor as more frequently than every couple years. But it costs a little extra for everything you want
Sure.
to add on.
Okay, let's put on the contour map.
Mark, can you hear us yet?
He sent me a text. He said, having trouble with computer audio, will call in. Dan, have you had a chance to take a look to see if there's aerial photography on this application? I don't see it in the layers.
So let's see. In the upper right, there's a host of icons displayed horizontally. One's a pencil, one's
Yep.
a ruler. The
Yep.
4 squares appears to be a base
Yep.
map. And those
Yep,
are
got
the
it. Thank you.
options. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hello, can anybody hear me?
Yes,
Yep, we can
Okay.
hear you.
Happy New Year, Mark.
Yep, Happy New Year. Having computer issues already.
Same thing, different year.
Yep. So I can see that my video is working, but the audio isn't, so.
Well, they're working well
Oh, okay.
together. Good.
Yep.
Yeah, because
Yeah. So my phone is doing the audio part, and I can watch anything that you guys post on the Zoom meeting that I'm logged into, so. Oh, okay, so I guess you're waiting for me to open the meeting. Okay, so here we are. Running a little late, so we're at 7:17, is it? Okay. So we'd like to open up the January 9th meeting of the Woodstock Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency meeting. Starting with call to order, yeah, which I just did. Roll call, Mark Parker, Chairman, present.
Bill Berwinski, Vice Chairman.
Arlo Butts, Secretary.
Stuart Peasley, alternate.
All right, there's no other members present, but we have enough for a quorum, so we can do business. Action on minutes of the previous meeting. So
You need to appoint Stu.
repeat that?
You need to appoint Stuart. He's
Oh,
an
okay.
alternate right
So-
now.
So yes, okay, so Stuart Peasley is on the call, so we will appoint him to sit as a voting member tonight as an alternate. Permanent full member, whatever. Okay. Action on minutes of the previous meeting. Okay, I gotta go back. Let's see, with the previous meeting minutes. Is it on the website? Let's see, I'm looking for it. Yep, there it is. Okay,
So I looked it over and I didn't find any changes.
Bill Berwinski, I have a few things. On number 5, pending applications. Number 6 under that. We approved that. And requested a sequence of construction. Was the sequence of construction a condition of approval? Or was it just
No.
requested? Okay,
No, no, it was it was in my motion. I had two conditions. And one was that no more than 15 cubic yards of washed sand be put onto the site for the proposed beach, and that prior to construction, a sequence of construction be submitted to the wetlands office. And I can't remember if I said for review and approval, but as long as we have the sequence and we know what's going on, because otherwise we didn't know what was going to happen first, second
Yeah.
and third.
well, we do have the sequence, so if you want to bring that up later, or,
We can look at it.
yeah, then the other one is under 7, I believe. 7B. And number 6 under that, Bill Berwinski made a motion to approve the Lake Bungie tax district maintenance work as described for the 5 beaches listed with all extracted material moved from sites. I believe I put a deadline of March 30th on that.
Sounds like that's true. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. We'll add that in.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes with the added correction of adding to 7B6, but to add by March 30th.
Bill Rowinski.
So moved.
Okay. Second, by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to accept the minutes as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay. All right, back to the agenda. Pending applications, none. Okay. New applications. Application 12-22-01, 171 Green Road, Jarrett Thomas. Maps 5703, Block 10, Lot 28A. Driveway wetland crossing for new single-family home, split and new single-family home, SFH. Okay. Let me go back and open that one up. So Dan Malo, I see on the cloud page that there was a submittal 4 days ago that you put in, and then there's one 9 hours ago that says guest contributor. Which one should we open?
The earlier one.
The 4
I'm
days
sorry, I
ago.
think I'm the
Okay.
one who caused that problem. I thought I was trying to download it to my computer, and I think I ended up making an extra copy. So,
Okay. Okay. So we have that one. And, 'cause site plans. And download that one.
You know, Mark, Daniel Blanchett
Yeah.
is online, and he might be able to screen share the plan so everybody can see it if Dan can screen share.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Nope.
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is
Hi.
Daniel Blanchett. I'm a licensed civil engineer. I'm here representing the applicant, Jarrett Thomas. Let me see if I can share my screen. Try this. Is that working? Can people see that?
Yes.
Excellent,
Yes.
excellent. All right. No, not that one. Actually, let me go back up a hair. All right. So again, my name is Daniel Blanchett. I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Jarrett Thomas. Jarrett Thomas's wife's parents own the property known as 171 Green Road. And now here's Green Road here. You can see just north of 197. I'm gonna try and zoom in, care too much. Yes. And I believe this, is it that one? No, it's a little bit south of that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I believe it's this one here on 171 Green Road. Again, the applicant's wife's parents own that property. It's about 11 acres, and they want to build a new home for themselves. They're anxious to live close to their parents and be in town. And so they've hired me to design a site plan so that they can build a new residential house for themselves. Looking at the site plan here, sheet 1. Again, the existing house is on the east side of Green Road. The existing house is not shown, it's just north here. We're proposing to create this lot via a free split, and that's nice. It avoids all that subdivision red tape. The property has not been subdivided or modified otherwise, so they're eligible for a free split. And it's about 11 acres. We're proposing to cut off 3.5 acres on the southern tip. What we're here tonight is to hopefully seek approval from the Wetlands Commission for a wetland crossing of the driveway. You'll notice if you look at the topography, the site's very steep. It's very steep. It's almost a 40% slope near the road. It drops off very quickly. And there is a catch basin on the road, and the discharge from that catch basin has created an intermittent water course, and the driveway that we would like to construct has to cross over that intermittent water course. This is going to require about 1,180 square feet of wetland disturbance. Again, a little bit over 1,000 square feet. Wetland soils were delineated by Margaret Washburn. Most of the construction is fairly typical house, driveway, septic system. Now, originally, we did try several alternatives to avoid this wetland crossing. Again, you can see here's the proposed property line here. And we tried to do an S driveway. We tried a couple different S driveways to avoid this intermittent water course, and I just couldn't get it to work. I just couldn't come up with enough length to get down here at an acceptable slope. And so even with an S-type driveway, we would have had a greater wetlands disturbance. And so really the proposed design does reflect the smallest possible wetlands disturbance that will still allow my clients to build a house here. Green Road has an existing 18-inch RCP under the road. It's not a very big pipe. Again, it doesn't have a large drainage area. It's really just to capture the road. And then that comes down. There's a small existing 12-inch pipe here that we're proposing to remove. And then here's the driveway, and we're proposing to install an 18-inch long CPP pipe, 48 feet long, that will go under the driveway and allow us to cross that wetland. It's a fairly steep pipe, again, with how steep the site is. The pipe, you'll see it's dropping 10 feet over about 50 feet. So it's just over a 20% slope. And a concern with such a steep slope is water velocity, potentially having erosion as that water exits the pipe. And so we're proposing to do a riprap scour hole, which I'm trying to get over to. Yes, right here, a riprap scour hole, which is a big pool of riprap to really try and slow that velocity down. I didn't notice any erosion when I was out there. I don't think a large amount of water is traveling through this pipe at any time. But again, just to try and improve things, try to make things as good as possible, we are proposing a riprap scour hole. I have a detail for that on sheet 2. Here's a detail sheet. Again, it has the septic system information. Septic system's pretty standard, house is pretty standard. I have a sequence of construction for the culvert that I've specified, some erosion and sediment control notes, some various details, both for the culvert and for erosion control measures. Again, proposing to have some erosion control, silt fence installed downhill of the major excavation. All work is going to be performed in the dry season, again, to minimize any potential for erosion. You can see again, it's just a narrow strip of wetlands here with a narrow drainage swale, inner water course. It eventually goes down to Muddy Brook. I don't think it's quite shown, but yeah, Muddy Brook kind of angles through the property right up here. And so that's eventually where water will be going. In terms of the house construction, it's all within the upland review area. I have the upland review area shown here. And so all the construction effectively is within the upland review area, but I tried to keep it as far from the wetlands as possible and obviously still meet setbacks to the southern property. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Dan, this is Bill Rowinski. I have a question for you.
Sir.
You have the 18-inch pipe going under the road. Without knowing the actual conditions on, I guess it would be the east side of that road, how much more contributing drainage would there be to going to that 48-foot pipe run you're talking about?
And so candidly, I haven't done a full drainage design. I haven't done a HydroCAD model to calculate the exact flow under various storms. What I did is just to match the existing pipe. The proposed pipe is immediately downstream. And so we're just matching the proposed pipe in lieu of doing a detailed drainage analysis.
Okay, well, that answers that question. Next question is, do we think we need one? Does anybody else have any opinions on that?
Well, given the problems that we've had on Payne Road.
Yeah.
I suggest that any time that we have something where there's a cross culvert, we don't know if that culvert is adequately sized on the town road. Town probably doesn't have any information on it either. But Daniel, you said that there was no erosion at the outfall of that pipe, existing pipe?
Yeah, that's correct. I didn't see any significant erosion. It's a fairly narrow channel coming off that pipe. I don't think it gets a lot of flow.
Because if it was if there was a flow issue, you would expect to see some kind of erosion immediately downstream from that pipe. Or some kind of overtopping along the road. But since this is an individual permit application because of the road crossing, we're not going to be rendering a decision on this tonight anyways. So that'll give us a chance to take a look at it if we want to before next meeting. When Bill's done with his questions, I have a couple of my own.
That's primarily all, except for where the wetlands is draining to on the lot 28, I believe. And how much, is there any risk of there being some adverse drainage onto that lot? You mentioned it was going to Muddy Brook, possibly on the right side there.
I don't believe so. Again, in terms of the house for lot 28, it's near the road. And so
Yep.
we're coming downstream of that. We're not really increasing the flow coming through here. We're not appreciably changing the impervious area. And so I don't think that we're making anything worse. Also, Muddy Brook is several hundred feet downstream. So we're
Yep.
pretty far separated from that.
Okay. I'm all set, Marla.
Okay, so my concern has to deal with the driveway and drainage coming off the driveway. It says it's going to be a gravel parking area. I'm assuming the driveway is going to be gravel, or is it going to be paved? Has he made a decision on that?
I had recommended paved and my client would prefer gravel. I'm specifying
so-
gravel on my plans at the moment.
Okay, so obviously that's a cost, and if they don't have the money to do a pavement, the question that I have is how the drainage comes off the driveway, because I have a gravel driveway or stone driveway, and unless that's pitched one way or another, it'll tend to rut and tend to rut down the center line. And if you follow coming off the street and it's rutted, what it's going to do is kind of come off the driveway at about 446 or 444 and head right towards that house. So I need to think about how you're going to handle the runoff coming off the driveway so that it doesn't hit the house. That was one question that could be investigated or checked with your client before next meeting, how they wants to handle that. The second issue is, it says it's a walkout house. But when I look at the grades near the proposed gravel parking area, it looks like that's close to a 3-to-1 slope along the side of the house. And they don't show anything for stairs or steps or anything getting around. And I'm assuming that the walkout portion is in the back.
Yes.
But we can't tell. Yeah. So if they're going to have some kind of structure to, to allow them to get easily around to the back, that's something they might want to look at and considering. Because 3-to-1 is mowable, but it's not a lot of fun. Because you're on a side of a hill, but maybe they're not going to mow everything. Maybe they're going to leave it as it is. And that's not a problem we have. But I'm just trying to think of down the road, if they want to now's the time to think about those things. As to whether or not they need a structure, a walkway going down or something going down to the back where their walkout basement is. And lastly, you did provide a sequence of construction for the cross culvert, but I'd like to see a sequence of construction for the house and the septic system. I'm assuming, and I don't like doing that the septic would go in, the well would go in first, then the septic, and then the grading for the house. But the commission should have that, because what happens if the well doesn't produce? I mean, or doesn't give them what they expect? Or what if you hit an artesian condition that now you have to deal with drainage that goes down? I'd like to see a sequence of construction for all the work that's in the upland review area. Not just the cross culvert. I have no problem with the cross culvert sequence. It's fine.
So just going back to one of Marla's earlier questions, talking about the driveway.
Mhm.
I'm proposing a cross slope of this driveway, which is a little unusual for a gravel driveway. Typically they're crowned, but again, with the very steep conditions of this site,
Mhm.
you'll see I'm proposing a cross slope. And so really, sorry. So,
Just
so
go ahead.
any water on the driveway will sheet flow to the east, and then I have a very gentle swale just upstream of the driveway that'll capture water really just, again, from this narrow area and direct it away from the driveway into the culvert that we're proposing.
So what about the runoff that comes off the hill from between the Green Road and this proposed driveway? You said it's a pretty steep slope.
Mhm.
When the ground is frozen, how are you going to, if there's water coming off of that slope, how's it going to be carried? Because is it going to cross across the driveway?
No, sorry. So the swale is going to go all the way down the west side of the driveway and
That's what I
connect
thought,
into
yeah.
the pipe here. Yes.
Right. So if it's on the west side of the driveway, then you need to make sure that that runoff cannot go into the front of the house. That it stays outside of the house itself. That's just a thought.
Okay.
Check, I would suggest you check it with your client. I don't have any other questions.
Yeah. In terms of, I guess, yeah, you talked about possibly having some sort of a stairway here. You're right. It is about a 3-to-1 slope. There's going to be a walkout here at 4:30.
Mhm.
Front of the house about 4:38. I'll ask my client. Yeah, if he has a stairway or something in mind, yeah, I can definitely include that. Not a problem. I don't have NDDH approval yet for the septic system. I expect to have it next month. It was submitted at least 4 weeks ago.
So just recapping, the three issues I have are the stairs, the sequence of construction overall for the site, and questions about drainage off the driveway to ensure that it doesn't flood to the front of the house, but
Mhm.
rather is directed away from the front of the house.
Okay. Yeah.
Mark, I move to accept application 12-22-01, 171 Green Road, by Jared Thomas, map 5703, block 10, lot 28A, for a construction of a driveway across a wetland, as well as work in the upland review area for the construction of a 3-bedroom, single-family home, driveway, and septic system, and well.
I'll second the
Second.
motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to receive, accept for consideration, application 12-22-01. Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for your time, everyone. I'll see you next month.
Thank you, Dan.
Have a good night.
Great. Yep. Relate,
Stop
unshare
sharing.
your
Hold on.
screen there, Dan.
Stop
Yep,
sharing.
There you go.
Back to you.
Okay. All right. Okay, under new applications, Roman numeral 6, letter B, application 12-22-02, Rocky Hill Road, Shane Pollock, map 5783, block 47, lot 4E, new single-family home portions in the Upland Review area. Okay.
You,
Mr.
Norm?
Chairman, for the record, Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates. I'm here representing the applicant this evening. What we're proposing is a single-family home on about a 7-acre parcel. There are 3 separate wetland pockets on the property, none of them contiguous with each other. If you like, I could probably share my screen and to discuss this in a manner that might be a little more a little easier to understand. So if everyone is good with that, I'll do that.
Yep.
All right. Well, here's the overall site. You can see Rocky Hill Road at the bottom of the screen, which is south. North is directly at the top where the house is proposed. We have a fairly steep slope coming off of Rocky Hill Road. There's a small wetland pocket in the southwest corner of the site. And then we have these 2 other pockets that we're proposing to bisect with the proposed driveway. We are proposing a cross slope on the driveway, and the upper portion of it is going to sheet flow off the driveway. We do have a crushed stone shoulder on the driveway up until about station 200 on the driveway, and that's working from the top. That water will sheet flow off that driveway ultimately toward this wetland system here. The remainder of the driveway, the last 200 feet, is the steepest portion of the driveway, and we're proposing a riprap swale, cross slope on the driveway, and we have a cross culvert that will convey the flow from the driveway to the east. There is a pretty pronounced swale along the northern side of Rocky Hill Road already. So we are incorporating a pipe into our design that will be below the driveway, beneath the driveway at the entrance, that will allow flows that currently flow in that swale to continue in the direction they currently go. We do all of the home itself and the septic system are outside of the 100-foot upland review area. We do have approval from the Northeast District Department of Health for the septic system design. And we are proposing silt fence and staked hay bales for the driveway construction in order to provide the maximum amount of erosion and sedimentation control. Because this is a rather steep driveway that we have to traverse the slope with. And we've created a flatter shelf at the top where the house is going to go. It is a rather difficult site. It is heavily wooded, and there are a lot of surface boulders on the site. The 2 wetland pockets themselves are essentially in an area where you've got some large boulders that have created depressions in the terrain. And according to the wetlands report that was prepared by Joseph Thoreau, he classified all 3 of these wetland pockets as palustrian forested wetlands that they have persistent wetness due to the shallow seasonal water table and groundwater breakout in these areas. The question was asked to Mr. Thoreau if he felt as though these particular wetland pockets had any kind of characteristics you might associate with vernal pools. In his opinion, they did not. They don't seem to really hold any water deep enough at any given time of the year to to allow for amphibians to lay eggs in these pockets. As you can see, there is still, even though they are little wetland pocket depressions, there is a pronounced slope across these wetlands as well. So the opportunity to hold water or to provide any kind of habitat is extremely limited. That is kind of it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on it. As I said, this is a single family home and about 7 acre total lot here.
Bill Verwinski, I have a question.
Sure.
Has there been any consultation with the town as far as the driveway access, or a driveway permit or whatever, because whether there'll be enough drainage there where your driveway meets the road, and if that particular design would be what they would consider appropriate?
No, we have not discussed it with anyone from Public Works at this point.
Okay.
But as I
You have
said,
any more questions?
there is a very pronounced swale off of the northern edge of the road. As
Yeah.
you can see by the contours, the way they are here, it's about probably about 2 feet deep in most spots, and we're just allowing that drainage condition to continue as it does currently.
Bill, if you're done questions, I have a few.
You can go ahead.
So on the pipe along the road, how did you size that?
I sized it based on the road drainage that was intercepted from the peak of the hill to the west. The
Mhm.
Rocky Hill Road peaks, and I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's several hundred feet up. We have a high point on the road, and so essentially took the drainage from that point and sized the pipe accordingly based on that.
So what's the contributing drainage area you figured to that pipe?
I have it at about 3/4 of an acre.
Oh, that's not much at all.
No.
No. And the other question that I have is I noticed there's quite a bit of cutting and filling to make a flat spot for the house, even though that's not, most of it is not in the upland review area.
Mhm.
Are they planning on importing fill, or is this going to be simply a balanced cut and fill?
Yeah, it'll be a balance. Everything on the west side, this is all cut here, and we have some fill here. This will be a walkout on this end of the house. I think you can see it a little more clearly on the septic design plan. We've noted on the septic design plan that it is a walkout here. So just essentially excavate the hillside on the west, create the flat spot associated with the house, and push that excess material down gradient to create the fill on this side.
So for the road, for the driveway, which is a fairly long driveway,
Mhm.
are they anticipating having to import material for that, or is that also the same?
Well, they'll
Match.
have to import the sub base and so forth, the processed gravel for the sub base. If you look at the profile that we have, which is sheet 3 here, you can see that the cuts and fills are fairly balanced. We're cutting at the beginning, we're filling toward the top here. So it is a pretty balanced design. I might
How
note
long
also,
is,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, how long is that sloped driveway?
It's about 600 feet.
Okay, and given that length, that it is, are they planning to do any pull-offs? So if somebody's coming up the driveway and somebody else is coming down, that they have an ability to pull off, would they need to do something like that? Include that into,
Well, I don't think they would, and I mean, quite frankly, the only logical spot to do a pull-off would kind of be right between the two wetlands. Because that, as you can see, this point right here, station about 250 is right about the midpoint of the wetlands here, the spots between the two wetlands. So, that would be an appropriate spot. Obviously, that creates a little more disturbance, a little closer to the wetlands to do that. So that's the, I think with the shoulders, we do have 2-foot shoulders and a 12-foot wide driveway. So if there was a situation where you did have two vehicles coming at each other, one leaving the driveway, one entering the driveway, 8-foot wide vehicle, we should have enough room for two vehicles to pass each other on the driveway without having to do any kind of defined pull-off area.
so are they gonna do underground utilities?
Yes.
And are they gonna do that on the south side? I'm gonna guess that's.
Where do I show that? I believe it's on the,
Fine.
hang on. Here, it'll be on the east side of the driveway as you approach the house.
Okay,
It'll be the south side here, correct?
yep, okay. I'm just trying to get an understanding of, what the nature of the work would be, because if they were, I found that you don't want to put the utilities right under the travel way,
No,
but if you have it off to the side,
right,
it
we've
gives you
got
a
it,
little extra space.
we've got it 2 feet off of the traveled way.
Hmm. Okay. Well, right now, there doesn't seem to be actually any work in wetlands or watercourses. This looks like a wetlands agent approval. Do you have a sequence of construction for this, for the
Honestly,
driveway?
I don't know if I do.
I didn't see one, so
I-
you didn't.
No, I don't believe I do. And I should know better by now, right? I come before you enough here, so I'll be happy to provide that for you as well.
I don't know how anybody else feels. I just, at this juncture, since it's a wetlands agent approval, I would have no objection to Dan issuing wetlands agent approval, providing he gets an acceptable sequence of construction, one that he finds to be correct. I would trust his judgment on that. But I think there should be a sequence of construction before the initiation of any construction on the site. That could be a condition of approval of a wetlands agent approval. How does anybody else feel?
Bill Verwinski, that sounds good to me.
Yep,
You
that's
want me to make
reasonable.
a? Do you want me to make a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I move that application 12-22-02, Rocky Hill Road, Shane Pollock, map 5783, block 47, lot 4E, be processed as a wetlands agent approval by the wetlands agent, providing such approval contains a condition that prior to the initiation of construction, an acceptable sequence of construction be submitted to the wetlands agent for his review and approval.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to process this application as a wetlands agent approval. I trust that the recording and Dottie will get the language down that Marla presented. Are there any further questions or discussion?
Yes, Bill Verwinski, I have to interject here. I didn't catch it. On your application for permit, number 2 on the first page says name of applicant Shane Pollock. And number 6, applicant's interest in the property is checked off as owner. And number 7, name of property owner is Emily and Benjamin McKissick. So who's really the owner here?
Yeah, Shane Pollock is the builder and applicant, and the McKissicks are the property owners. So that was an error on my part.
Okay,
Do we have the signature of the owners to grant access to the property during construction?
Yes, you can, absolutely.
Dan, do you have that on the forms? I'm looking.
I
to see
believe,
if
I
we
believe
got
I
that.
signed on their behalf. I said on behalf of the applicant to access the
it's
property.
Exhibit G.
Okay, of the application.
Yes,
Let's see, where is it? Rocky Hill application. Well, that's on behalf of Shane Pollock. That's not, and he's not the owner. I'm looking for the signature of the owner to grant permission by the commission to enter onto the property. So when you go to page 3 of 3, which is page 4 of the document that was posted, the undersigned applicant hereby consents to the necessary and proper inspections of the above mentioned property by the agents of the Inland Wetlands Agency at reasonable times, both before and after the thing in question. The undersigned swears the information is complete and accurate to the best of its knowledge, and that is the applicant's signature. But I don't know how the applicant can grant property rights when the applicant is not the owner. So I think just a simple simple letter from the owners of the property granting that access to the wetlands agent during the construction activities, during the
I'm sure-
processing of this.
I'm sure that won't be a problem. I mean, you know, I am representing the owners as well as Shane is representing the owners. So I'm sure that that will not be a problem to get you that.
Okay. Well, so then I still will hold the motion that I gave before, because it'll be up to Dan to make sure that he has whatever authorizations are to enter onto the property. So I'll keep my original motion. I'm not going to amend it.
That is acceptable by the chair. Are there any other further comments, discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Right. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks, Norm. Happy New
All right.
Year.
Happy New
Thanks,
Year to you as
Norm.
well.
Yep. So before going on to the next item, I just, maybe something that we could put on either later this meeting or maybe at the next meeting. Do you think, Marla, Bill, Stuart, that maybe we're gonna need to add an owner signature, property authorization, property, what's the word I'm trying to think of? Allowing our wetlands agent, or any of the
Access.
other agents, access,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
well,
we had in the process new application forms that Ashley had drafted up. We've kind of dropped that. We really need to go back to those forms and decide if we're going to change the forms, because the forms that were generated did have those signature authorizations.
Right.
So I think it would be wise if in the next meeting that we have in February that we go through those application forms again and decide if we're going to change the form so that we don't have to go
Correct.
through this.
Yes. Okay, good. So, Dan and Dottie, when we're drafting up next month's agenda, let's put that under administrative business for reviewing those forms again and making sure we have those signature lines in there. Okay, good, thank you. New applications, Roman numeral 6, letter C, application 01-23-01, 253 Crystal Pond Road, Paul Blair, map 6385, block 39, lot 32. Remove a man-made stone pier and replace stone along the shore. Okay, now let me go to the documents page and who do we have representing this application tonight?
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me or see me, but
Okay.
We can
in
hear
my
you.
name, it's Paul Blair, the owner.
Yes, thank you, Paul. Yep. So what lake is this bordering? Let's see. Crystal Pond Road. Okay, Crystal Pond. Okay, got it.
Bill Rowinski,
Thanks.
I have a question for Paul. Do you have any idea why that stone pier was created?
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, the property was purchased by my mother way, way back, probably in the 30s, 40s. And over time, because there were 4 different deeds and they were merged into one, not too long ago. And yeah, I believe stone was just taken off the shoreline where the land had receded from erosion and put into the pier for the most part. And I remember even when I was young, when we had some work and there were some extra stones, we just put it on the pier, to extend so you could walk out, basically out into the lake a little bit. Instead of now you have floats you can walk on or the aluminum piers, but basically this was a precursor to that.
Okay, in the picture, there's a dock there. Is that also on your property?
No, that's Bill Bebo's dock. Well,
Okay.
if you're facing the water, the dock you see is on the right-hand side, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Bill Bebo's dock. And the property line is actually about halfway between my stone pier and Bill Bebo's dock. There was some issue with the maps, and I hope the assessor was in contact with your office to straighten that out, but because the maps were wrong.
Okay, if you're standing on, say, your lawn or by that big boulder, facing the pier, the prevailing winds and waves, which direction might they come from?
From the right-hand side,
From the right-hand side.
yep, washing the water from Bill Bebo, washing the sand and everything around the pier and to the left.
The reason I'm asking that is because sometimes a pier like that will be purposely put in a certain wind direction to collect sand on one
Yeah.
side or another.
Yeah, I've noticed that in the past, way back, prior to many of the rules we have now. I had someone remove sand from that had accumulated in there because they had been dumping it on their beaches. And I could use it, up on my shore. But this is way back when I was, I'm 70 now, 71 now. When I was probably 20.
So I'm just questioning removing those stones is not going to affect the movement of water, so that'll scour out your sandy beach there.
Yeah, my real beach is to the left anyways, and the sands, much of the sand is gone. The beach isn't a priority to me.
So it's mostly for cosmetic reasons.
Yeah, make it look more natural, basically. And I mean, I'm not quite sure on Bill Bebo's feelings on that, but my pier kind of sticks, well, Bill Bebo's shoreline kind of comes in a little bit, and my pier kind of puts Bill Bebo in a small cove. Like, yeah, and I wouldn't think it would be an advantage to him to have that stone pier there. And I'm not taking the whole pier out. I'm just taking off probably half, 2/3 of it.
I don't have any other questions.
I have just two questions.
Sure.
First of all, what is the kind of equipment that you want to use to take these stones out? Because they look pretty big.
Yeah, yeah. I spoke to Gary Wittenberg, who's the neighbor on my other side, and he would do the work. And he would, he referenced one of his larger excavators that he would bring in to move the stone out. So he could, stand off from a little bit back, less damage right on the immediate shoreline.
So what was your timing on this? When were you planning on wanting to get this done?
I'm not sure on his timing. The water is down now at the lake. It's almost all the stone is exposed, is above water right now. To me, in my mind, it would be better doing it soon. Ideally, when the frost is at its peak, but in the ground so that there's less disturbance. He mentioned moving the stone out from where it is at the end of the pier and putting it further inland, and then I get, if depending on the conditions, doing a second step and moving it back. And I think in my diagrams, I wanted to put some of the stone on both the left and right hand sides of what would be the remaining pier, in kind of a natural, like before, when the stone was removed to put on the end of the pier. And
Gotcha.
it would be, shelter for like crayfish and probably some small fish, doing that. And it would reduce erosion from the motorboat waves and the wind-driven waves at when you get high storm. I meant big storms.
Gotcha. I really don't have any other questions. I don't see this as a big issue. Is there a lake association for Crystal Pond?
Yeah, there is. I'm not a member of it, but yes, correct.
Okay. So your property boundary, does it run along the shoreline? So would you be changing your property boundary line by removing these stones?
I'm not quite sure on your answer. Yeah, one of my boundary lines between I and Bill Bebo is halfway between my stone pier and Bill Bebo's. But it's perpendicular to the water where it intersects. It doesn't run along the water line.
Well, the only caution that I would have is, I don't really have an objection to the moving of the stones, as long as the water table's down. But if he has a heavy piece of machinery, you better know where your septic is, because if he drives over your septic and damages it, that'll be potentially costly.
Yeah,
But that's not the Wetlands Commission's typically their jurisdiction. But I would just counsel that because if you have a leach field and a tank, and he's got a heavy piece of equipment, it's going to be moving these stones. You kind of want to keep him away from that area.
Yeah, the cottage is well back, it's a new septic system from about 15 years ago, which is behind the cottage even. So it's even further back, and it's not where he would be running the heavy equipment down to the waterfront.
Gotcha.
And he's the one who put
So
in
we
the
have-
septic system.
Yeah, this is listed as an application for a permit, and typically we can't render a decision on something like that unless we wait a month.
Okay,
But the concern I have is that the water table might come up as, by the time we get done working with this in February or March. So I didn't know what other commission members might feel about, authorizing it as a, I don't know whether I want to call it a non-regulated use, because that's only used when you're not altering the natural indigenous character of the wetland or watercourse. But it could be construed under maintenance and enjoyment of a residential home. And that would allow him to be able to do that work as soon as the frost gets back in the ground. Right now, there's no frost in the
Yeah.
ground.
yeah.
So,
And to tell the truth, I'm not sure on Gary's schedule either.
well,
I guess
the only time you would,
I'm listening.
the only time you'd want to do this is during drawdown. You don't want to be
Yeah.
doing this when the water's up.
No, I accept that, yes.
So
Bill
how do the other
Lewinsky.
commissioners?
Bill Rowinski, I'm okay with that. With the stipulation of during drawdown. So
Stipulation, what? I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't hear.
during drawdown,
Oh, yeah.
when the lake's low.
To allow it as maintenance and enjoyment of a residential home, providing the work was done while the lake was drawn down.
Yeah, sounds reasonable to me.
Yes, I agree.
All right, then I'll move that application 01-23-01 for 253 Crystal Pond Road, Paul Blair, map 6385, block 39, lot 32, regarding the removal of a man-made stone pier and replacement stone along the shore be allowed as under maintenance and enjoyment of a residential home as a use permitted as of right, providing the work is done during the time when the lake is drawn down, when Crystal Pond is drawn down.
Second by Bill Rowinski.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to that this application be allowed under maintenance and enjoyment, and that the work be done during the low drawdown period of time. And again, I will trust that Dottie, you will go to the minutes as recorded and insert the language in next month's meeting report. Any further questions, discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Blair.
Well, thank you both. Thank you all. Just one question then. Do I stop by the town hall and pick up an application, or do I simply contact my contractor and tell him, it's good to go, or?
So perhaps I can help answer that. On page 3 of the application form that you filed, there's a
Yes.
section at the end that says commission action and date. And what will happen is Dan will fill that in as that it's authorized as a use permitted as of right under maintenance and enjoyment of a residential home, providing the work is done while Crystal
Sure.
Pond is drawn down, approved by the commission on January 9th, 2023. And he can give you a copy of that along with the minutes once they're posted. And that would be your authorization.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So we will move on to Roman numeral number 7, administrative business, letter A. Go ahead, Dan.
The commission, or I'm sorry, the agency did request a sequence of construction for the Barlow property on Crystal Pond Road. And that was included in the online documents. I don't know if you all would like to go through it. There's 14 operations in the sequence.
Bill
What
Rowinski,
was, go
I've
ahead,
been
Bill.
through it. I've been through it and I don't see any issues. I believe it basically follows the plan that we had discussed.
I must not have downloaded that one. I don't seem to have that.
It's a one page
I'll
in
trust-
landscape format.
Okay. Let me see if I can find it.
It looked
Wow.
okay to me.
I trust your guys' judgment. I don't need to do it. But I'll try to take a quick look if I can get to it. Everything's running real slow right now. And as we were in the meeting, I was trying to use the GIS program and it locked itself up and it can't be reached. So
Oh,
I don't know what happened with it. And now I can't even get into Woodstock, so maybe it's my computer.
I can still
Must
get
be me.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, so it must be my computer. Never mind. If you guys are okay with it, I'm okay with it. I trust your judgment.
For the
Yeah.
sequence of operations,
Yep.
Do we need a vote on that? Or would you like to have a vote on that?
Did we require it as a condition of approval that it had to be submitted for the commission's review, the agency's review and approval? Arlo, let's see.
It
Says,
just says to
and
be
then-
submitted.
yeah. So it's been submitted. In the future, we should say submitted for the either the agents or the commission's review and approval, but if that's all it says and we've already approved those minutes, I guess then he's met the requirements.
I don't remember, Stuart Peasley here. I don't remember when the sequence of operations was applied in all these
It was-
projects. Was this
It was in the
recent?
motion.
I'm just
When I made
curious.
the
was-
motion, there were two conditions that I had on the on the approval. Was no more
Okay.
than 15 cubic yards of washed sand
Oh,
could be
okay.
hauled for the purpose of the beach area, and then prior to any construction, a sequence of construction be submitted. And it probably should have read a sequence of prior to any construction, a sequence of construction shall be submitted to the commission, to the agency for its review and approval prior to the start of construction, but that's not what our minutes said, so he's done what the minutes said he needed to do.
So is this is called sequence of operations? Is this a
Yeah,
standard?
that's kind of the same thing as sequence of construction.
Was this cut or generated for only this application? Is this like,
Typically, anytime you have, multiple activities going on in a site, like if you're having a house built in a septic system and a well and a driveway, you should have a sequence of construction as to what comes first, because it can affect what erosion and sediment controls you might use during the course of that construction.
all right,
And that's why knowing what the sequence is becomes important.
okay. So this is a standard, I guess is the question.
Should be a requirement for anybody who's got a complex application
There's
or,
Bill Rowinski, there's often something in the plans that calls out at least sequence of construction of either some detail or the whole plan. Just we don't necessarily review it in detail
Okay.
all the time.
So that would have been for application 09-22-05.
correct.
Correct, okay. So do we want to state tonight as a matter of record that we approve or we acknowledge the submittal of the sequence of operations?
No,
With
the
that
minutes
permit?
should show that. I don't think it needs a
Yep,
motion.
okay.
I think the minutes should just show that, but we had no objection.
Okay, yep. So Dottie, when you're writing up the minutes for tonight's meeting, and you do the discussion for the Barlow site on Crystal Pond Road, just make reference that this is in reference to the 09-22-05 application. Okay. All right. Agenda. Okay, administrative business, letter A, FY24 budget request from boards and commissions. Let's see if I can get to it here. There it is. Okay, we have the letter dated December 12th. Please submit your FY24 request. Okay.
So I
So
have
can we
one
just
question for
request?
Dan.
Go ahead,
Did
Marla.
we run out of money for legal notices?
Not that I've been
We
made
pay-
aware of.
Okay. Because our budget is, we don't have a copy of it before us, but my recollection is it's pretty slimmed down because the Board of Selectmen, the Selectmen's office controls the staff resources. We don't. So all we have is basically little stuff. So our budget is only, I think, a couple thousand in size. Maybe 3,000 if we're lucky.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't see why we would have any changes of anything unless you recommended it, Dan.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't have that budget information on the OneDrive. I didn't mean to just include the top sheet here. But I will get most of that up and send it around via email and see where our spending was at. And if you still want to recommend 0 changes, that's appropriate to me.
I wanted to just say Happy New Year and think we should all get a raise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, the only other, Bill Rowinski, the only other point that I would be inclined to make at this point is that we are required to do this job under state statute, and therefore the town doesn't have any options to eliminate, this board, this agency. Somebody's got to do it, and they got to pay something for it anyway. So
Well, I don't think that they're gonna eliminate us, that's for sure. I think that would cause them some problems.
Hmm.
But I just didn't know if there was additional resources that were needed. And unless Dan, says that there's certain things that are shortfalling from the budget, so when he sends that out, I think maybe if he sends it out with everybody included in the email, we just do a reply to all to give our comments back to him. To
Yep,
decide
that's
whether or
fine.
not we need to make any changes, and if we see there's a change that needs to be made, then maybe we have to have a special meeting, which she wants it by what date again? 25th of January,
Yeah,
so we would not have another meeting until the 25th. Let's see, when are they gonna meet? Board of Selectmen, when are they meeting? She
it'd be
says,
26.
is that what it is?
I think they meet on
February and
Thursday.
March.
I think they meet on Thursdays, Tuesday.
Okay. So unless there was something really outstanding that we thought we needed, Dan could always talk to Mark about calling a special meeting, but I don't, to be honest with you, don't foresee really anything at this point in time, unless Dan has
I-
identified something which,
I think an email
I'd
would
sound-
suffice, an email to the,
yeah. Well, Dan
Mary
will be the
Fitzpatrick.
will be reporting out for us. So if none of us have any objections, then Dan can report out there was no objections.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to vote on it.
Bill Rowinski, I just want to bring it up is that they are looking for justifications also. Or comments on justifications.
Well, I'm glad
Statement
you
of
did
what-
that justification.
A statement
I'm
of what
glad
you
you did
plan to accomplish and what benefits the town Woodstock receive.
Mhm. Well, I
I
think now
think
that
we
we've
could
had to have
just
Mr. Go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
I think that just, we could use the same language that we used last year. But we would also add, as you most appropriately pointed out, Bill, that, the benefit to the town is that the state of Connecticut DEP continues to authorize that we can make decisions at the town level on this. If we didn't have enough members and, we weren't able to do the permit reviews and so forth like we do have, the DEP would have to take over and do all the reviewing and approving. So the benefit to the town is that we are you continue to be able to make the decisions here at the local level.
Oh, boy, yeah.
And I'll happily relay that statement because I think oftentimes that fact is taken for granted.
Yeah.
But
So under that particular bullet, Dan, what are the benefits to the town? That's what we need to state to them. The benefit is that we can continue to make the decisions at the local level. Because if we didn't provide funding for a wetlands agent and zoning enforcement officer and staff and for our needs, then we would lose that benefit of being able to make our own decisions. The state would then go to the state. So let's just remind them that.
Yeah,
Well,
but the requirement is that somebody has to do it. And it's either done by
Right.
us locally or somebody else from DEP, and the money's still gotta get spent to do it.
yeah,
Correct.
but it doesn't cross over into zoning though, because there's no state mandate for zoning. So it's
Yep.
only the state mandate for wetlands.
Correct. So Marla, Dan, if you guys could just, take last year's numbers, and just, put all new dates on it and whatever language we used for, last year for what we were going to accomplish. We can probably use similar language. And then under the bullet of the benefits, we'll add that little tidbit about, is still being authorized to make the decisions locally. And then, yes, my chairperson's phone number and email, I believe you have it. So just plug that in. So yeah, so put that all together and then send it around via email, and we can all do a read through and put any final changes before the 25th.
Sounds good.
So, Mark, there's one thing under administrative business that's not here on the agenda, and I'd like to modify the agenda to talk about the Connecticut Bar Association's training program or seminar, webinar, it's a webinar that's coming up in March. And I don't know if anyone got copies of that via email. I got one in Thompson. If you want, I'll send it around to everybody.
I
It's a
didn't see it yet.
webinar, okay. So I'll get a copy of it and I'll send it to all of you. There's a charge involved, which would have to go against our current fiscal year budget. If you decide it's a whole full day Saturday, but it's all online. It's not in person, and they also have it that you can buy the proceedings to the webinar. I think it's $35. And just thinking that might be useful to have one copy in town hall.
What's
'Cause
it, like
those-
6
Bill, you
hours?
got,
Well,
gave me, yeah, it's something like that. And Mike Sista's gonna do the wetlands portion again. So I don't know what changes there have been in wetlands, but that'll be interesting. Most of it's on planning and zoning. Only small pieces on wetlands, but it might be
Hmm.
worthwhile to sign up.
Hmm.
If I sign up, I'll be charging Thompson, not Woodstock, so.
What's the webinar name? What's the title?
It's the Connecticut Bar Association. I think if you go
Oh,
to
it's not-
the Connecticut Bar Association, I'll send it to you via email, the brochure.
But this is different from Kakiwick.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kakiewicz
the
in November.
Kakiwick meeting.
Bill,
Okay,
is that
right,
the one
okay.
that we went to a few years ago?
Yes,
Same thing.
it's probably UI and Tina, and there was somebody else too, I think.
Yeah.
That was before COVID.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
down at Wesleyan. They held it.
Yeah, I guess planning and zoning commission members, or at least planning commission members, have to get credits for training and stuff periodically, I think. Something
Oh.
about, I read something about that. And this can go for those credits of education. We don't have that in wetlands. So, whatever. Anyways, I'll send that around.
Thank you. Okay. So citizens' comments, it looks like all the citizens have dropped off the call. Anything else you'd like to put on the agenda?
This is Bill Rowinski. Did we decide our meeting schedule for this year yet?
Yep, we
Well,
finalized that in December. I'll pass it around to everybody.
Okay.
Yep.
Election of officers would have been in February or no?
yes,
Okay,
So that goes on the agenda for next month.
correct.
and should we probably look at fees at some point relatively soon?
To what? What'd you
Fees,
say?
permit fees.
Oh, permit fees.
application fees.
Yeah, we probably should look at that. I'm in the process of trying to evaluate what costs there are to revise the fees, and I'm coming up, if you get a chance to take a look at New Milford, if you look at their fee schedule for their wetlands, they charge for every single little thing. It's amazing how many fees they charge. But that seemed to be the most complete fee schedule I saw. So if you take a look at New Milford, I've been collecting that kind of information for Thompson because their fees are too little also. I would
Did you know New
suggest that if you,
Milford? Sorry,
huh? Did
I
I
was
what?
just gonna, I'm just interrupting, but New Milford's the largest town in the state.
No, it's not. I think it's is it Weathersfield?
And that's
Woodstock
changed,
is the
but
second,
Woodstock is
second
second,
largest.
New Milford's
Yeah,
the
then it's
first.
gotta be New Milford.
Yeah.
DEP used to regulate New Milford. They didn't have a wetlands commission, and when they passed a law that required that they mandated they have their own, they created their own one, and the guy who's the wetlands agent is still there from back in the 80s. Yeah, I was
Wow.
surprised. But yeah. Yeah, we probably should be looking at fees next month. Do we need to look at the bylaws? The bylaws are required to be looked at once a year, but I thought that was in April.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
For our standard operating procedures.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where do I get the bylaws?
So what's the date in February is our next meeting?
February 6th is first Monday.
All right, good.
Looking to see in the bylaws where it says February is the organization meeting. I could have sworn we had a timeline that we had to do it on a certain month. Well, we're gonna have to change it anyways. Membership, the ordinance passed, correct?
Yes,
With regard
Correct.
to reducing the number, so we gotta
Yes.
change the bylaws anyways. So we probably should put on the agenda for next month also is revising the bylaws. Or reviewing them for revision.
I figured it'd be appropriate. I was already gonna go with it. Considering the other administrative business.
Hmm. Yeah, it's under section 7, election of officers. The February meeting shall be an annual organization meeting at which time officers will be elected and the bylaws reviewed and made part of the minutes of the meeting. All members must be notified of the annual meeting before the election of officers can take place. That's on page 3 of the bylaws.
Marla or Dan, do we have the bylaws posted on, the current bylaws posted on the town website?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there they are. Okay. Got them. Last revised June 17th, 2019.
Mhm.
Yep.
So if we're recapping what we're next meeting under administrative business, we have the election of officers, review of the bylaws, a review of application fees. And there's one other item,
Review of the application
Application,
form.
application
templates.
forms.
Yeah,
Yep,
application forms, property, access approval from the landowner, yeah.
Okay. That's 4 items for administrative business.
Right.
Are we done?
I believe we are done.
I move to adjourn.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, so moved. At
Huh.
8:45, 46, whatever.
45.
Yep, 8:45.
Have a good one, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See you next
Bye.
Thank you,
month.
Dottie.
Bye.
Thank you, Dottie.
Yeah,
Night.
thank you.
Donnie.